Okay, thank you all so much for joining today for soft sales, strong strategy. Um, we have a lot to cover today, and I'm going to do my best to get through this in the hour that we have scheduled. Um, I'm hearing a lot of consistent stories from many of you, and probably the reason that you've signed up is because you're experiencing some of what we're getting ready to talk about today. We're in a strange economic climate, to put it lightly. And as business owners, we're experiencing some challenges that in many ways might feel similar to what happened at the beginning of the pandemic, but they may also feel completely new to you. So we're going to talk through a little bit of what's happening, and then my recommendations of what to do. I want to say at the top of this, though, none of us have all the answers because we are in sort of uncharted territory. So we can only draw from the past where there is similar things and say, okay, when that happens, what do you do? Best educated, best strategic guesses possible. And also just over the years, I've owned businesses for 14 years. To be clear, every one of those years was not highly profitable. In fact, a few of those, like my first business, I lost a bunch of money in the very first year, So to be fair, it wasn't linear growth. So we can draw from those lessons too, to just know, like, what do you do? And during years where financially it's just not great. So to begin, some of you saw this. I sent out a survey, had Hatch Tribe people, business owners, submit answers. And there were four questions, and one of them said, how does your revenue to date compare with your 2025 goal? And 75% of respondents said you're not missing or you're not hitting your financial goals. And nearly half of respondees, and that's that number you're looking at in green, or nearly half, so 46%, are missing their financial target by 15% or more. So suffice it to say, financially, small business owners and entrepreneurs are not meeting their financial goals at a minimum, and for some, it's pretty big. And when we dug a little deeper, we asked, what's your biggest challenge you're experiencing in your business, and which of the factors are impacting your outlook? And you're going to notice the intersection here of a number of things. Biggest challenge, generating leads, right? In order to sell things, we need leads to sell it to. External factors like economics, politics, AI, et cetera, form that second biggest bucket. Closing sales, well, yeah, if we don't have leads, we can't close them. All this makes sense. And fourth was burnout or lack of motivation. And to be clear, I want to say I understand this, because when you are continually doing things and not getting results, I understand where burnout comes from. I get it. It's hard to stay motivated when you're not getting results that even in the past you have been able to get off of a similar effort. And then when we look at these factors that are most impacting your outlook, economic uncertainty is sitting at the highest, followed by client spending habits. And again, we're noticing the intersection across these questions. So there's a lot here to mine, and a lot that I've been thinking about and mulling over to be able to just say, this is what's top of mind for most of us on most days. If we turn on the news, or we look at our social media feed, or we talk to a friend, or we talk to a client, one of these words is probably coming up. Businesses are doing layoffs. That's not inherently small businesses, it's big businesses too. We know inflation is still at play. Just the news in general, just whatever cycle of news we're on, it's largely not positive. We know there's higher prices because we're seeing it at retail. We're seeing it across the board. I mean, I went into Trader Joe's on Sunday and got coffee, and I was like, I swear to God, the big coffee thing that I bought, it was 16 bucks. And I think in the past it's been below 10. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, my coffee habit's getting expensive, not even leaving the house. Um, Doge and whatever Doge is doing, obviously that's affecting things. I have a client who had to lay off half of her team because she had a contract with the government and that vanished overnight, right? So she's directly affected by that. Um, Tariffs are in play. We know how that's affecting businesses that are sourcing things from overseas, especially. So anybody that sources anything from China is directly affected, to say nothing of other countries. Uh, Obviously, there's debt considerations, and I don't just mean that in a macroeconomic climate, I also mean that in consumer. What we're finding is that consumer debt is rising because people are having a harder time paying for the stuff they need. Um, Economic uncertainty is at an all-time high right now, which basically means like we are just unsure of what's happening, and that breeds a lot of doubt, fear. Consumer sentiment is also at an all-time low. This is when consumers are asked, how are you feeling about the future? Do you feel good about it? Do you think we're headed in a positive direction or not? And right now, largely, consumers are saying like, yeah, I'm not feeling real good. I get it. The political climate is, still at odds. And this is not a political conversation, but like, think the vitriol is at an all-time high. Interest rates are still quite high, not only on houses, but also on consumer debt. And then protest in general. So like we've got a lot going on. And I think that all of this is getting into people's mindset, and it does affect the way that people buy. And it's not only the way that consumers buy, like if you take that example of me going into Trader Joe's and how I'm buying coffee, like that's part of it, but it's also our clients, and recognizing that even for big businesses are made up of a bunch of people, and those people are also running through the same filter of everything that we're looking at here. So it affects the way all of us buy, and how we buy, and when we buy, and the things that we're thinking about in terms of managing uncertainty. And there's a term that's largely talked about in investing, and particularly in the cryptocurrency space, which is called FUD. And it's this idea that when all of these things are going on, FUD mounts, and that's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And it can create kind of a shitstorm of feelings and emotions that we have got to learn how to navigate through as business owners in order to still be productive citizens and to still be productive in our business. And so I kind of like to think about this of like, we have a red pill and a blue pill, and it's which one of these are we going to take? If we step into the matrix, we've got an option here. And one of them is that we feed the fear. We can sit with everything on this slide and just go to a very dark place. And we can let fear win. And often when it does, fear will cause us to shut down. We'll start to just go like, maybe I need to wait. Let me wait it out. Let me see what happens. Or I'm so scared of taking action, I perhaps need to just pause and think longer until I figure out the right thing to do. For some people, it's just like head in the sand, like I don't even want to look at it. I don't want to know. And I am hearing that from lots of people. Like I can't even stand to look at the news. So we're instead allowing ignorance to rise instead of being aware of it and just getting enough data to then make a decision. So it's important to understand what's going on from a macro standpoint and a micro standpoint, because we need the data, but we don't want to let the data run us into the ground. So I look at this, that the blue pill is really the question of smart and strategic moves and the things that we need to be doing now based on our best educated guesses. And that's really what we're going to endeavor to do today, is to talk about some of those things. And I think it's important to start here, because if 75% of businesses are not hitting their financial targets, you may have a feeling that you're failing. And I think it's important just to say, like, you're not necessarily failing, but the market is definitely shifting, and smart leaders are going to have to adapt. I mean, these are these moments in time where it's like, if you just sit and wait, you're probably going to be like Kodak and kind of out of business, like the market moved all around in digital video, and Kodak kind of held to film. Do you want to be the Kodak and hold to film, or do you want to say like, nah, I kind of got to move on? Like I need to adapt to what's happening. And we don't know if these are long-term adaptations or short-term adaptations, but minimally, we know we need to make some shifts. So the things we're going to work through today, one, a simple framework of how you audit your business so you understand what's happening right now and what to do. We're going to talk about some smart marketing moves you can make. We're going to talk about why relationship building is really critical right now. We'll talk about some practical ways to adapt things like pricing and promotion, and we'll dig into that deeper. And we're also going to talk about mindset, because it is critically important that you are managing what's happening between your ears, because otherwise you're probably not at your best as a business owner. So first step, How do we audit our business? We need to pull our head up out of the sand and to be able to take a look at some things to understand what's happening, and to try to do so in a way that's non-judgmental and non-critical. And I mean that in a way of like being non-self-critical, because this isn't, again, it's not an assessment of your failure. It's really just an assessment of being able to look at what's there and understand it and let the data drive decisions. So first, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because all of you have things that are working. It's not all bad. And sometimes there's a tendency to go like, it's all broken, nothing's working. And when we say that, we're dismissive of the things that are working or that can work with a little bit more effort. So our job is to discern that. So when we audit our business, here's a framework of 4 things, 5 things really, that I do want you to take a look at. We're going to dig deeper into these, and I've got a checklist for you that I'm going to actually send you. So if you're not capturing all of this in critical notes, it's okay. The first thing is your financials. Like, too many business owners are not updating their finances on a regular basis, and it is really important that you do, and especially now. So at this moment, you've got to update it year to date. So, year to date for everybody right now is going to be through April, but I also want you to have monthly numbers. And the reason monthly is important is because monthly is telling us a story. If the next 6 months we start to notice further and further and further declines, that is data. If the next 6 months we notice increases in revenue, that is data. If we see peaks and valleys, that's data. So it is really important that you are updating your numbers and understanding what's happening there. We're going to look at this a little deeper on the next slide. Products and services, no matter what you sell. I need you to know what is selling, because if you do offer a multitude of things, different types of services, different price points, I want you to use that critical eye to go, okay, with everybody that I'm working with currently, what are they buying? Because that is indicative of where there is still appetite. There is still some consumer demand that has not vanished. Now, as it relates to sales and marketing, what I'm asking for here is, what are the tactics that have been working to get people to you? From a marketing standpoint, what is it that you are doing that is attracting eyes to your work? What are people engaging with and responding to that's telling us some things that are working and that you can do more with? On the sales side, similarly, like, is it working? If you get somebody on the hook and they say, get on a call with you, is your pitch on the call working, or do they vanish afterwards? Right? So we kind of want to know what's getting them in the door, what's getting them to engage with you, what's getting them to talk to you. And then at what point are they either making that decision to say yes, because that's telling, or what point are they saying, nah, I'm out? And again, I have boatloads of this in checklists, so you're going to get something from me afterwards. It takes you through like literally dozens of questions to ask to mine this a bit deeper. On the client side, here again is a question of who's buying and who's not and why. And if you listen to your clients right now, you will understand a lot. So for the people that are sticking with you, they're going to give you indications of why it's still important that they keep spending that money with you. There's enough demand built into them that they're like, I don't want to stop spending money on this. Why? I want to know why. That's that intrinsic motivation that's driving them to do that. But for the people who are not buying from you, I also want you to know why, because also that data can be very telling, especially as you start to think about how you might make some pivots in your business. And let's just say, for instance, it is about price. If it's like, I really would like to do something, but this is out of my budget, does it give us the doorway to open up to say, can I bring them something that helps solve their problem at a lower price point? Because they really do want what I have to offer. It's just in the current packaging or pricing model, it doesn't fit them. We got to put all the cards on the table, all the options on the table during a time like this. And kind of at the center of this is, I want you to have a deep understanding of what's happening in your industry and with your competitors. So you've got to zoom the lens out. So I know a couple people here in the marketing world. So I want you to look at marketing companies, and I want you to look at big ones and small ones. And I want you to see what they're doing. How are they talking about their business? What types of things are you seeing them offer? Because some of them are already, I'm seeing tons of it. They're offering things they've never done in the past. They're offering things at different price points than they've had in the past. They're offering shorter engagements rather than longer engagements. And also just do your research, like go out and research what is happening in that industry. Typically, every industry has some type of industry leader, board, nonprofit that publishes data, and the data is going to tell a story too. So I want you to have enough understanding, because that is going to help you make informed decisions about where to go. So this is just an example in the checklist I'm going to send you of how I go way deeper. So like in this checklist of Know Your Numbers, this is all about your financials. And I will send this to you because I want you to be able to run through this. A couple of things here, just so you can plant the seed in your mind. When we're looking at our numbers, one of the things we want to look at is our runway. So if you have clients that have signed contracts, you can put those in your projections and say like, okay, I think for the next 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, like this is the type of business I have coming in. You can also look at your run rate on expenses. How much you on average spending every single month? How much do you have to hurdle? That gives you that break even number, how much you need. How long can you go in the business as it exists currently? Or does it reach a point where you're like, I'm going to run out of money? Like, I'm not going to have enough cash in the business. And would there be a point where you need to find other sources of income? Or would there be a point where you would say, I actually need to walk away from this business? And it pains me to have these conversations with business owners, but it is their reality. Not every business is going to survive, and that has nothing to do with this moment in time. This moment in time, though, is just setting fire to a lot of this. So, these are important decisions that business owners have to be able to make. Hiding from your numbers is not going to arm you with the data you need, though. So I want you to understand this. I want you to know at what point you would walk away, and you would say, I'm going to do something else, or I need to find another source of income. I really want you to know how much it costs you to run your business every single month. And if inside of that, there's some things you can cut back on. So understand that during an economic downturn, cash is king and queen and prince and princess. You want cash. You want to hold it. And that is because cash gives you the ability to float longer. So sometimes there will be expenses we will cut. Sometimes as business owners, we will pay ourselves less, so that we can still keep the business in operation. I'm seeing all versions of this in every client I work with. So I want to normalize the challenging decisions that come with this, especially around the money. You'll get this checklist. It's got other sections in it. You can dive deeper into all of these pieces that we just went through. So moving on from kind of this deep analysis, the second piece of this is really thinking about the marketing component, but really asking you to think about your brand. And no matter, like if you're a team of 1, or if you're a team of 50, or you have a company of 500,000, like there is a brand associated with you and your business. And it is always good to be building your brand. So the way to think about this and during a moment like this is that visibility today equals sales later. I can't tell you when later is, but I do know that companies and individuals that build strong brands will always be top of mind versus those companies that don't. So when the market turns, because it inevitably will, somebody wins business. As soon as these businesses or individuals get excited about spending money again, and they will, they're going to go to people that were already in their mind. They're going to go to people they've been talking to over the time. They're going to go to people that didn't give up on them. So when we build our brand during a slowdown, it is a strategic investment that will pay off, and it's going to pay off later when the tide turns. So things to think about here is just this. What I'm getting ready to tell you matters all the time, not just during an economic downturn. But a sales and marketing funnel will always, 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 always start with brand awareness. We can't sell something to someone if they don't know who the shit we are. They got to know us. So that's why awareness always sits at the top. And that is about strangers becoming aware of you and what you do, but it's also keeping your brand top of mind with people that do know you. So maybe somebody in my orbit might be like, I think I want to work with a business coach at some point in time. When they do want to do that, I'd like them to think of me. So I want to keep building that awareness even during a time of a slowdown, but I want to be doing this always. So think about this right now is that we want to shift that focus away from that transactional mindset, which is like I'm focused on short-term sales. Because, dude, I want to say, I understand. I know you want to sell everything right now. I do too. I want to sell it. I want to sell it. I want the money in my pocket. But we have to shift the focus in our mind, at least to say, I am more focused on building that long-term trust because we know that the purses are not open right now and spending a lot of money. So things that we want to look at, and we're going to go a little deeper on this in a minute. First is stay at the top of the funnel. So brand awareness can be very much around delivering value, showing things that you know to help the people that you serve, being in a state of thought leadership where you're putting out things that are impactful, that build your credibility, that build your authority, that make sure that people are reading it and reacting to it or listening to it and reacting to it, but not necessarily buying from you yet. That's the top of the funnel. Second, reaching out to prior clients. And this is not about, hey, you got any work for me? It's more the genuine, like, hey, I've been thinking about you. How are you doing? Like, what's going on? I'm having lots of those conversations right now. And they're telling and they're important. And like it also helps me because I'm learning more about the challenges they're actually dealing with, but not in a way that's transactional. I'm not trying to say, hey, let me fix that problem for you right now. Right? Get out. I can't say enough about this because especially as we're watching AI start to creep into virtually everything we're doing, you're going to have to make a decision about whether or not you're going to go all AI, all tech, or whether or not you're going to keep humans as part of what you do. My opinion is that there will always be demand for humans. Human to human stuff is always going to matter. In real life, things win. I've seen it time and time again. Real life relationships will always win out over online ones. We buy from people we know, people we like, people we trust. It is much easier to build that when we meet people in person. And that includes things like what we're doing now. Like it can be online, but it's face to face, right? I can see you, I can see your interaction. We can talk this way. It's two-way. I would encourage you to get out as much as you can right now. And again, because it's building your trust factor so that when people do free up the money, they're like, let me call Holly, let me call Christy, let me call Phyllis, because like they already know you're the one they want to work with, even though they're not ready yet. And trust obviously is a piece of this, and here what I would say is like trust is built over time, but it's about consistently showing up, not periodically. It's following up, it's doing what you say you'll do, it's being supportive even when there's no money on the table. um, and at the center of this is just that idea of like keep showing up. And right now, that's a mindset that you have to navigate the time and space we're in. And again, I come back to that idea of like I'm burnout, things aren't closing, I don't have enough leads. And like I get it, you can feel like you're beating your head against the wall. So part of me wants to encourage you to just say, set some goals and go do it regardless of the results. It's like just do it anyway because you know that they're the right things because they do pay off. They have paid off in the past. They will probably pay off again in the future when the money frees up. So just keep showing up. So I want to get this a little bit more specific. I've got 5 things for you. So the first is make a past client recommendation list. This can be very simple, like go through everybody you've ever worked with ever and reach out to 2 per week. That's simple. It's easy. Very, very natural way just to get back engaging with people that you've worked with. It keeps your network activated, keeps them warm. Really simple to do. The second one, you can send a personal check-in to past clients and make it, and I give you even just a very simple wording like, hey, just checking in. How are things going since we worked together? or hey, just checking in. How are things going for you this year? Because I know things have been a little crazy, right? Like express genuine care and not only like do lip service to it, but like actually mean it. like, like listen to what they're saying. Um, and help in any degree that you can. But I'm not asking you to help them for free, but it's just be supportive, right? Share a valuable tip or resource with your audience each week. Many of you are already doing this, but I wanted to say it just in case you're not. I think a lot of folks have felt like, I don't know, is any of this landing? Is anybody seeing it? Things are shifting greatly in the space of social media and virtually every platform. I wish I knew to tell you precisely what to do, but I can say you won't know unless you do it for your business on the platforms where your potential clients are. Um, I know video is working. We do know that. Video is being prioritized across all the platforms. That we know. But thought leadership posts on LinkedIn, for example, are getting lots of engagement. Something that's like really putting yourself out there, having an opinion, telling a story. Those things matter. People want to hear real stories from real humans because I think our bullshit detector is so high because we see what's happening with AI. So the bullshit factor's high, and we know when we're being pitched to, we know when we're being sold to. So make it more about offering value, being credible, being authoritative in your industry, sharing things, and just trusting that the rest is going to unfold the way that it needs to. Obviously, emailing your list is preferred. I think if you've worked with me in the past, you'll know like my view is that social media is the gateway to grow your email list because your email list you own, your email list is always going to get opened by more people than any social anything you put out in the world, unless it happens to go viral or unless you're paying for ads. So your email is really important and it does position you as a thought leader, and especially during a time like this. So for clients that I'm working with, they're taking a lot of a head-on approach to what's happening in the world. So a marketing firm is like, they're speaking directly to like, I get it. Like the economy is a mess and here's what we're learning working with our clients. And they're just passing the lessons along. Straight pass through. The client that lost business because of the grant that they lost from the government, they've been speaking directly to why the work that they're doing is still so critically important, even in the absence of federal funding. Right? So they're tackling the topic head on, straight, direct. So I would encourage you to think about how you can do that to serve the people that you do speak to, because you are an expert. You are a leader in the industry that you are in. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And I do want to say this, it's important. Uh, Publish it and let it go. Don't look at the analytics and don't make it mean anything. Like it may get no likes, but that doesn't mean anything. It may get no comments and that doesn't mean anything. It's a lot of practice to get really good at putting content out there to begin with, but also people engage with things so differently these days that I just don't make anything personal. I'm like, it is what it is. I've got to put it out there because it's me doing my job. I'm not responsible for what happens on the other side, but I do let the data help me make decisions, right? So if something really speaks to people, I'm like, cool, let's do more of that. Another one is just starting like 3 real conversations in DMs or comments. Obviously, this works if you're using social media across any platform. In the past, this was a very common strategy for businesses to use. I think the key here, though, is that we know when it's bullshit. So if you're going to use this, I really would encourage you to think about how do you make it real? And this is my gut check for myself. I'm like, am I responding to this authentically or am I trying to write something? And if I'm like, I'm actually writing it because I'm like stoked about what they're doing, I'm like, it will always be authentic because I can feel it. So if you're being weird and you feel yourself being weird, it probably is weird. Don't write that message, write something thoughtful. And you can always reach out to the types of clients you want to work with, but it may not be about their work at all initially. It may just be like, I totally love what you just posted, or like, thank you so much for sharing this. Like, that totally resonates with me. Like, just engage with them because you're putting yourself in their orbit, right? So a few things you can think about. Okay, moving on. We want to look now at adaptation. As I mentioned earlier in this, we're all having to adapt. The question is, how long will we have to adapt? How much will we have to adapt? How much do we have to pivot? And the answer is we don't know. So we're going to have to individually and collectively try some things on, test some things out, experiment a little bit to see what lands, and that's okay. I encourage you to put on your scientist hat and just get out there and see. Practice healthy detachment from the stuff that you're doing, because all we're trying to do is just see what sticks, see what starts to resonate, see what starts to land. You're experimenting with it. We do not know unless we put it out there. The thing we do need to ground ourselves in, though, is that what sold before may not be selling now, and you know best. So when you are doing that analysis of your own business, I am really going to encourage you to take this to heart. Of the things that you are selling or have sold in the past, if they are not selling right now, but they have before, it is an indicator that something about that offer is not right. And it could be any of the things we're getting ready to talk about. It's not always price, though currently in the market we're in, a lot of it is going to be price, to be clear, right? So we have 4 common marketing levers that we get to pull when we need to make adaptations. All businesses do this. Every business I've ever worked with has played with all of these. Even when I worked in the corporate world, this is common vernacular for the things that you will pull to try to get different results out of your business. Price, promotion, product, and position. We're going to talk about all of these individually and give you guys a sense of what you might be able to do. Price. We'll start here. I hate starting here, to be clear. In normal times, I encourage business owners to not start with price. I usually say start with this last, but I think that it's important to speak to this first because of the economic data we have, because of the fact that we know consumers are already over leveraged, because we know consumer debt is mounting, because we know that inflation is extremely high, because we know that consumers are cutting expenses. Price is a part of that. The amount of disposable income that consumers have is a big part of that. So when it comes to price, we have the ability to make strategic decisions about raising or lowering pricing, and it's strategic. That is the key word in this. One of the things that you may consider is introducing some kind of limited time discount or a bundle where you're pulling some things together where it increases the value of what you're able to provide. So maybe you're not changing the price, but the things that are getting added to it make the value of it so much higher that someone would want it even at the existing price. Another option is to offer payment plans. This does not work for every business, but I think you're probably seeing this already. If you've bought anything online lately, you might have noticed it had what looked like a layaway plan. Even for things that are like $99, it'd be like, pay only $15 today. And I'm like, holy shit, this is happening. Why? Because people do not have the disposable income and they're scared to spend the money. So payment plans can be one of those ways of reducing the friction of getting people to make that buying decision sooner. So you've got to think about that, how you structure that for your business and what makes sense. And anchoring new pricing to added value can be another way. So it's speaking a little bit to point 2 and intersecting here, but you may end up refreshing your price points in general. And along with that, we may then bring in new things to them to load up the value. I'm always a fan of loading in value that doesn't require you to do a lot of extra work. So the scalable things that you have in your business, i.e. not one-on-one work, or not something where you have to tap like the highest paid team member. It's like if it's something that can be done at a very low cost, or it requires very little extra work, or you can throw it in because like literally it costs you a few cents on the dollar, great. Load it up, beef it up, make it so sexy that the person just can't say no. So price is one of those levers that we do want to pull when the current pricing feels misaligned with the market or your cash flow needs a boost. I'm seeing lots of this across lots of industries. You probably are too, even if you're not aware of it. So I'll encourage you to start paying attention now if you haven't. Um, but for example, someone that I know does some, mm, I don't want to give away her business in case any of you know her. She does some assessments, we'll call it that. And in the past, it's had a very fixed rate for the assessment. She started promoting on social media that the price was discounted. It was like maybe $100 off, which would have equated on this to be about like 30% discount. Limited time only a number of these available, right? Another thing I'm seeing with another business, not a client, is offering something that's lifetime access. They have a program and a course where normally there's an annual fee to have access to a certain part of it. Instead, they're saying, what if we give you lifetime access for this certain amount of money? And to be fair, it's a good deal relative to what people were paying. I'm seeing things thrown in like groups. So say maybe it's a one-on-one type of work where it's like, in addition to that, you're also going to get a group type of thing. So the group part's scalable for most of us that do one-on-one work. And it gives people that extra added value where something is being presented in the group that's, not being presented one-on-one. There's lots of examples of this. Um, you will need to evaluate whether or not this makes sense for you, right? And do the numbers, right? We started with numbers. I want you to know the numbers. So if you do make a decision like this, do understand the profitability of it as you choose to do it. But you can always limit it. So limited by time. This is only available for this length of time. You can limit it by quantity. I am only offering 5 of these. When this sells out, it's gone, right? And you can always do it again. So just know, like, you can test run it and you could say for the next 5 days, this happens. If at the end of 5 days, no one bought, guess who doesn't know? No one knows. Only you know the results of that. You put it out and you say, I've only got 5 of these. And let's say at the end of 10 days, like one has sold and you're like, I'm going to end the promotion. Cool. It's sold out. And you run it again later. So when I worked in the beer business, this was common. You use these in and out strategies, in and out, because you don't want to change your retail price on the shelf every day. You want to run it promotionally so that people don't get hooked to the low price. So if you're in the grocery store, it's what's on the end cap. It'll have a special price. When you go to Publix, it's the thing that's at the front that's buy one, get one until it's gone. And then you're moving on, right? It comes and it goes. So like a flash in a pan. So just know you've got some good options here that don't get you stuck on a forever low price. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's look at promotion. You're going to notice that there are some overlaps here in terms of pricing, including this first one, run short-term campaigns. So sales, flash offers, events. You can think about things that are complementary to what you've done in the past, even potentially new offers that are just something that's a one-time shot, like an event. Like maybe you haven't done an event in a long time and you're like, I'm going to do one real quick just to get a little cash influx, right? It could be online, it could be in person. These flash offers, today only. Remember, when we are doing things with a sense of urgency, marketing heavily is really important. You want to be able to promote that as widely and heavily as you can. I would encourage you to consider ads also, not just relying on your own organic media, just because we know that organic social media gets fuck all attention these days. So you probably need to kick in some paid ads. Other things that we talked about here, like offering bonuses, limited time content, extra services. These are ways that we bring in that additional value into the existing price. So again, think about things that cost you very little, that are scalable, and that's what you bring in because it gives more value to the person. It will be up to you to promote the value. And so we want to remember what we're always speaking to is like, what is the need state of the person who would be buying from you, and speaking to that. This is for you right? If you're dealing with this problem, if this is on the table, if you're having this opportunity, if you want this thing is going to give you that, right? And speak to that value that it brings them. Another option is collaborating with partners for co-promotions. I am seeing a lot more of this right now, and it's not, I don't know that it's necessarily more than in the past, but I do see a fair amount of it right now. A lot of people and businesses are cross-pollinating their audiences, kind of drumming up business with one another, for one another. My recommendation for this is always make sure that it feels like a win-win for both of you. If you are to do anything with another party, that it is complementary, that you like the people that you're going to be working with, that they do what they say they're going to do. If they're giving you any signs that they're not the one, let them show you. Believe them and move on, right? Find the right partners that really are interested in collaborating and want to do it the right way. Featuring client testimonials or case studies. Okay, this is great. And it's a great strategy, especially during a time like this. So the case studies here can be really compelling to say, like, we worked with this client on this thing and they got this result. And what we're speaking to is the result that your potential client really wants. It's the thing they really, really want to have. And we're showing that because it's illustrating for them what they could have should they choose to work with you. And testimonials can also be great. And it's just, remember, we want to share the ones that speak to the biggest need, the biggest potential client need at this moment in time, right? So I'm thinking about Rita for a minute, and I'm having to make this up because I haven't talked to Rita in a while, but like Rita helps people grow food. They can grow their own food, or her team will grow food for them. And there may be a message here in the client testimonial that's like, as prices keep getting higher in the grocery store, I want to be able to control my own food. I want to be able to grow that in my garden and not have to keep spending more at the grocery store, right? So there's a form of a testimonial that fits to the exact issue that's happening right now. Or like, I'm so sick of, she probably would never use this, but it could be like, I'm so sick of looking at all the recalls that are happening on every daggone vegetable in the world. That's why I'm choosing to grow everything I can at my house, because I can control what goes into my food, right? Organics are getting so expensive, but I can grow it organically in my garden and actually save money. Here's what the math looks like on that, right? So anyway, just some ideas. And then paid ads. I have to mention this again. I mean, for somebody in our survey told me that their number one problem was the social media algorithm. And I wanted to blow my head off because I was like, I cannot still have this conversation. Like, if you don't know that that algorithm is not there for you, how? Every social media platform is a business. Those businesses have to make money. The way they make money is by sticky content that keeps people on their platform where they then run the ads. If your content ain't good, of course it's not going to be shown because people see it and they're like, peace, I'm going over to something else. So ads allow us to break through. And by the way, ads are not that expensive for many of you if you think about the right audience and how to target it. They're really not that bad. So I would encourage you to open your mind to ads, paid ads on social media platforms. Let it get some eyeballs. And it's not typically going to be direct to the sale. It's usually, because most of you don't have products like, you're not selling candles and hair clips. You're selling other things. So we may need to get them into a freebie. So use it to get them to a freebie or a free workshop or something, and then deliver them the good stuff. So promotion can be leveraged at any point. And, obviously the tighter timelines and the more rare the discount, the more compelled people are to act quickly. So just know that if it's super discounted, often they'll go, okay, no problem. You've removed the barrier, right? Only X number available. They want on your list. They want to work with you. You remove the barrier quickly. Okay. Product and service is the third one. So here, what we can start to think about is like, if you look at the products and services you're selling and you're noting that a number of them actually aren't selling, it might tell us we don't even have the right offers anymore. It might not be about the price, but it may be what you're actually selling. There are ways we adjust the offer. We can simplify it, strip things out just to make it really, 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 really easy to offer them something that you actually can sell for less, or you rebundle it, which we've talked about before, bringing in some other things of value to make it feel more aligned to what it is that they want. Oftentimes during times like these, we also need to introduce what we would call like that lower barrier or the bridge offer that gets people in the door. It could be a digital download. It could be something that's $10 and $15. It could be $97. I don't know. You know your pricing, but we may need something that just gets them in the door. And I love for people to pay for stuff. I'm a big fan of using a freebie to get them on my email list, but I would like to offer them stuff to buy. Big fan of that. So, maybe there is an offer that you need to bring to the table that is just less expensive. And note, I still want it to be profitable for you. So run your numbers so that you will know what that looks like. And again, if you're listening to your clients, you're going to kind of know what needs to be added or removed. So listen to your client's needs because that is very telling. So this is a lever that we will often pull when things we're selling feel too high ticket, they're too high price, they're mismatched with what the current economic climate needs or current audience is telling you. Or if you have offers that are just frankly far too complicated, you can simplify them and strip them down and sell them in a different way. And then the last one is positioning. And this one speaks deeply to the moment that we're in. If you're listening to your clients, prospective or current, they will tell you what the hell's happening. They're giving you all the data to know how to write copy that's going to speak to their problem. And if you do that, you're going to get their attention. And if we then have an offer that lines up with that problem at hand, they're more likely to buy it. So I want to make sure you listen deeply to your clients, to what they're saying, to what they're telling you, to even what they're saying offhand, what they're saying about the world at large, because that is telling you of how they are viewing this moment in time. You can also ask them if they're not saying it openly. You can highlight different benefits or use cases of the things that you offer, that may speak into parts that they hadn't considered in the past. You may find also that people aren't real hell-bent on aspirational type of content. Maybe in the past, they're like, yes, it feels good. It's amazing. And now they're like, show me how it works. We may have to shift into something very practical. Like, here's where you are. If we do this, we get here. It is exactly here. It is no further. Speak to the brass tacks because that may be what they need that can calm their own fear. And that really speaks to this last piece, which is like, we want to emphasize trust, results, and risk reduction. Trust. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. Second, results. This I hear from people that are vetting me. They're like, what is reasonable? What can I expect to accomplish within the next 6 months? They want to know the results they're going to get, right? Risk reduction. Is there a refund period? Can I get out? Can I cancel? I told somebody the other day, I said, if we get a month in and you don't like me, you should fire me. And she laughed, and I meant it. I've never had that in my contract, and I don't care. I'm willing to put it out there now, Fire me. I'll void your contract. I don't give a shit. But a month in, she's going to have results. And I know that because I've had it with every other client. But she needed to hear that. It wasn't about me. It was about her. It was what she needed to hear. So when your message isn't resonating or leads are hesitant, we often do have to rethink the positioning. It's how we're talking to our clients, how we're coming to the table, and how we're helping them reduce their own fear about buying during a time like this. Because you've got fears and they do too. Okay, that leads us to this, which is, above all, we have got to get our mind right. Because all of that stuff, you could be putting it in motion, and every day you could be waking up with so much fear and doubt and uncertainty in your body that no matter what you do, you are bringing all of that fear and doubt and uncertainty to the table. So it's somehow, it's there, visually, verbally, unspoken, in your mannerisms. Like, you may be showing the fear and not actually presenting a confident front to the people that you endeavor to work with. So the first piece is like, you just got to check your story, because whatever story you are telling yourself is exactly what you are experiencing right now. It's exactly what you're experiencing. Whatever is on that replay loop, nobody's buying. This isn't going to work. I don't have any money. This is going to fail. I mean, this is the stuff. These are the things that we ruminate on. And listen, I get it. You're not going to be up every day going like, I've got this, everything's fine. I've got all the trust and the faith in the world. It's all going to work out. I mean, that is sometimes Pollyannic. And I'm not asking you to be that. I really want you to be grounded in real data and real information. But I also don't want this happening. I don't want you saying to yourself repeatedly, like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I put this out there? What if I fail? Nothing is working. I've tried it. It didn't work. What are people going to think? I can't do this. It's not possible. Like, this is the stuff that's always going to get in your way, and it's going to get in the way of your best efforts. So we've got to do our best as a CEO we can see this show up and be like, not today, Satan. Step aside. It's like, mama's got business and I cannot listen to you right now. So we've got to put this in a box and move on. So things that can help us get our mind right is grounding in these things. So one, knowledge is the foundation of a good strategy. That is why we start with that audit. I never want a business owner to just spring into action without making sure they understand what action to take. So do your due diligence, understand what's happening in your business, know your numbers, and then make some decisions, which brings us to no one can know the future, despite what they say. You are only making your best educated guesses and your best strategic actions. I mean, that's it. At any point in our lives, that's kind of all we can do. We can take the information we have and we can make our best decision at that moment in time, and we take action on it. Whether or not it works out or not is up to the hands of the universe and everything that plays out that's out of our hands. But if it doesn't work, guess what you'll do? You will make a new decision. You will make a different decision. If you've been doing it for years, all of you, in your businesses and in your personal lives. Another point is just making sure that you are separating your self-worth from what's happening in your bank account. You are not your revenue. Your self-worth is not defined by how many clients you have, by how much money you got in the bank. Like, I really need you to delineate between the two. Like, you are a brilliant human being that is here in this time on earth, and that is magic. Like, it is a miracle that you and the body you are in is here in this moment in time. Don't forget that. Your life is not about work solely. You know, many of us are passionate about what we do. We're passionate about it. We can enjoy it most days. But you are not your business. It's just part of you. It's just part of the thing you do. It's a necessary evil to make some money so we can go out and function in the world. But don't conflate your self-worth with that. Separate the two. And we can use this time as a real training ground for stronger leadership, you know, for understanding that, like, you're building resilience, you're building persistence, you're building discipline, you're becoming a better business owner, period. No matter what you do after this, you're becoming better because you're navigating what is arguably probably one of the toughest times you've experienced in your business, maybe second with the pandemic, maybe some other things, right? But we're being tested. So it will make you stronger. So I want to land here with just 3 key takeaways. I'll ask you to write some answers down quickly here. The first is, this is a moment where we have to be a certain way, right? It's not about necessarily what we're doing, which we're going to talk about, but it starts with being. Who do you need to be at this moment in time? And I want you to give it 3 adjectives that would tell yourself, like, who do you need to be? Confident, bold, the leader, strong, unflappable. I don't know. You write it down. What are the 3 words that resonate with you so that you go like, this is who I need to be today in my business? The second question is, what are the 3 actions you're inspired to take now? You know, I just breeze through a lot of information. You're going to get a checklist, but if anything stands out to you, you're like, yep, these are things I need to look at. Jot down those 3 things. And I'll leave you with the last question that I want you to do for a little bit of homework, which is like, what's the empowering story that you can tell yourself about the season in your business? You know, A girlfriend texted me the other day and she was like, I swear to God, God has tested me right now. I said, that may be. And it's like, let's write the empowering story of that, right? If you're being tested, great. Tell me what this looks like. How does this feel empowering to you? Right? So that doesn't have to be long. It could be just just a couple sentences or a short paragraph, but what's that empowering story that you will tell about this moment in time? About navigating it, about getting through it, about rising above it. Uh, that's all I got. That's it. Just a big thank you. There's no pitch here. I'm not pitching you anything other than to say that if you do want to talk, I've got a free 30-minute business coaching consultation and I'd be happy to talk to you. And if you don't, that's cool. I hope you learned something today.